If it's on your heart, if you thought about something, if you want something, you've envisioned something for yourself, it is for a reason.
On average, 70% of podcast listeners don't subscribe to the podcast they listen to. So if you've ever been inspired, learned something, or been left with positivity from the show, please take a moment to hit the subscribe button so we can keep connecting, having real conversations, and growing together.
Welcome back to Kicking It Real. If you are on YouTube, we have little Frankie with us. It is a solo episode. Before I kind of get into things, if you don't mind, like, subscribe. I'm trying to, remember to say all the big podcast things. And I love if you leave comments about what you liked, what you didn't like, what you want to see more of. But if you do say what you didn't like, be nice, please. Thank you so much. But I'm assuming you would be if you are listening to this podcast. We're going to get right into it. What I am kicking it with lately, which is actually treating your time like a luxury. We all remember that like Taylor Swift quote that she came out with. I'm not a Swiftie, but I don't have a problem with her. Like, I like her music, but that quote like shook me to my core. But what I mean by that is, for myself specifically, I'm very quick to drop what I'm doing because someone needs something or wants to do something, and I kind of abandon those commitments that I made to myself. That's not to say that there's not a time or place to go and help out a friend, or the case is, but just, I don't know, like, my time's a luxury, and just because someone else wants to do something at that time, that doesn't mean that I have to drop what I'm doing. But like, that could even be just if you are signed up for a dance class and maybe someone invites you out to go get drinks and you're like, oh, well, maybe I should, or maybe, they'll think a certain thing about me if I don't, or they will never invite me again, where it's like, no, like, honor your goals. Like, you made that commitment to yourself. Maybe you didn't pay for it yet, but you told yourself you were going. And that's going to tie a little full circle back into the end of the episode, but just an example. What I'm kicking it to the curb, unfortunately, it's cheese, you guys. I think it was like, it finally happened today where, actually it was Allie, of course, got to shout her out again. But she's like, what's going on with the cheese thing? If you follow me on socials, I have not the best GI situation, which it's on my list to do. 26, I have good insurance. I'm going to go to some doctors and like start to really get that figured out. It's something I've always struggled with, but I had a moment, probably, what was that? Maybe November, December, where I was like, I think maybe it's cheese, because I would sometimes, it's been happening a little bit more often now, where I will have this intense pain in my stomach. Kind of, it feels like out of nowhere, to where you're hobbling over in pain. And it happened again this past Sunday. And it was, I kid you not, maybe 10 minutes after I ate queso. So I do feel like that's connecting. I did try a lactate right after. I had to get some from our family vacation. Nana needed some lactate, so I like had a bunch on hand, and everyone was like, just try this out. And I took it, and it did make me feel better. I don't know if you're supposed to take it before or what the vibe is. I haven't researched it that much, but my plan for now is I'm not unfortunately going to say no to like queso at this time. If someone gave it to me, like, maybe I just take a lactate before if I'm going to eat that, but I am trying to avoid cheese when it's not necessary. So like, for example, when I'm making my eggs in the morning, he, of course, when we eat our breakfast together, I put cheese on his eggs, but I just don't put it on my eggs because it's not really, to me, adding that much. So, cheese, we're saying goodbye. I'll miss you, but also it's not forever. It's fine. Yeah, so that's my update on that. Another update, my biggest update, is that my parents are officially moved in. We came down on the 29th of December. My mom, Garrett, and I flew, and Frankie, we flew, of course, and my dad did drive the U-Haul down, which, bless his soul, the 16-hour drive. He was a little lighter in the car because my childhood dog, Sully, passed 2 days before Christmas. So yeah, the day before Christmas Eve. He was 17, and it was time. It was really weird because I felt like I was detached. Where I got home, my brother had kind of been like, yeah, he's not doing well. And he just, he hadn't eaten in like 3 days. He was pretty much just sleeping, and he would kind of just shake and like drink a little bit of water. So when I was home with him on whatever day of the week that was, but it was the 23rd. I was like, I was so sad. I just like sat with him for 45 minutes. My dad was outside doing some stuff to pack boxes and he was just shaking and I had to like literally keep my hand on him and keep him calm. And I texted my mom and I was like, listen, unfortunately, we don't have time for him to die in the next few days and he is just not going to make it until then. So I actually looked up at home. It's in Asia. So we had a vet come that night and it was like low key, actually really traumatic, but we're going to just right past that. But anyways, wow, the ADHD. My dad drove himself. My mom flew because she is a passenger princess, as I would as well. I don't think she gets car sick, but like I personally could never. But we got here the 29th. They stayed here for a couple nights because busy and they didn't have a bed. But as soon as they had a bed a couple of days later, they think it was maybe Jan 1, they got to sleep at their house. It's definitely a work in progress. It's stunning, but just like all the little things that Garrett, when we moved into our house, he is so on top of it and was like wanted everything to be completely ready for when we lived here. Whereas like my mom and I are similar to where like we want to kind of take our time and make sure we're getting the right thing. So needless to say, they will have a couch by the time this airs, but right now they don't have a couch. They haven't had one in 2 weeks, but they have a bed and they have their offices and they have a kitchen table and dining room chairs. And it's been so fun to get to like pop in. I'm so good at this. I love doing it. But literally the other day, I was coming home from my morning workout and I was like, you know what? I'm going to just go say good morning to my mom. And I went over there and said, good morning. And we'll try to take walks together during the week. But it's been interesting for me because I could just like spend all of my time over there, like helping them get ready and get things together and organize. I did organize our entire bathroom. It was literally chef's kiss. So satisfying. It's so sad because you look at it, it doesn't look like much, but there were a lot of boxes I was still sifting through. I got rid of so many things at their house, their Chicago house, before we moved, but somehow a lot of things kind of snuck in the box. Mom, when you listen to this, I did get rid of some more things, but like, expired medicine and things that she probably didn't even know she had. So needless to say, but I'm setting boundaries of like when I go over there because I feel like I could just spend all of my time there, but I have goals and I have things I want to do, which is kind of the theme of this episode of just like that new year energy and how I like reset, whether it's in the new year or not, breaking down big goals, all of those things. So we are getting into all of that right now. To start it off, my update is that I am leaving Pure Barre. By the time this airs, it probably will already have been my last class or about to be. I have been feeling like this was something I needed to do for like months now. It's actually to me very similar to my decision to not go back to Rockettes, where it's been a part of my life since I started teaching fresh out of college in 2018. And it's been so amazing in so many ways. I've met incredible people. I've grown immensely as a human. And I love obviously empowering people and motivating people and helping people reach their fitness goals and just it's just like I cannot say enough amazing things about it. However, I just have been feeling like it's not really aligned with the person I'm trying to become and the goals that I'm working towards. It's no longer serving me in that way. And to the point where I almost was kind of using it as a scapegoat in the sense of when people are like, oh, what are you doing now? I kind of talked about this in my last solo episode about just not knowing exactly what I wanted to do next and how that kind of is hard. So it's really easy for me to, say I teach Pure Barre, or if they're asking, oh, you're still teaching Pure Barre. And it's just easy. Like, yeah, I'm still teaching Pure Barre, but they don't know that at this point I was literally teaching 2 classes a week, like barely there, but it's such a good scapegoat instead of saying, no, like I am taking social media seriously, starting my personal branding. I really believe in my podcast that I started and I want it to take off. Like that is a lot scarier than I teach Pure Barre and I teach dance and I do some privates, which are like all true or were true Pure Barre, but the entrepreneurial, I one day will say that word correctly, that route though, it's one of those things where maybe a lot of people can't see your vision at the end of it. And it's scary for me and for a lot of people to not have a clear path and to not really understand it. So I was definitely using that as a scapegoat in that way. And also, it just wasn't an effective use of my time for like, that sounds terrible to say, but like when I break down my goals, again, we're going to get into, but breaking down all those goals and where I want to be, like teaching Pure Barre twice a week, it's not pushing me to where I want to be. It's not moving the needle. It's not doing the things I needed to do anymore. So I finally decided to pull the trigger and say goodbye. And it was hard. I even had a moment where I taught, and it was right before I sent the message and told my boss I wasn't going to be continuing in February. But I had that moment of like, wait, but I do really love teaching. And when I'm here, I love it. Like I love interacting with my clients and I've grown close to so many of them. But it was the same thing as when I stepped away from Rockets. Like, of course, I still loved it. There were so many great things about it, but it just no longer was what I saw myself doing in the future. It wasn't aligning with what I wanted anymore. So as hard as it is, it feels good to like close a chapter, because I'm also a very big believer that if you don't fully close one door, that you won't have other doors open. And the beautiful part about Pure Barre is that it's always there. Assuming that my amazing boss would let me back one day if and when that were to happen, which she is incredible and has been so gracious with me. Like I was literally teaching 2 classes a week at the same 2 times. And, I just didn't feel like I was able to give it my 100% attention anymore. And it, first of all, deserves that. And second of all, I just don't enjoy doing things not 100%, or maybe that's not the best way to say it. I am very all in on things I'm doing, and I give it so much of my time and energy. So it almost feels silly to be doing something not at my best. Maybe we should unpack that one day, but I digress. So that's like my big-ish update in that sense. Then moving into the meat of this episode, it kind of transitioned me into making a business plan, really forcing me to be like, I am going all in. It actually like feels different. It's only been a few days since I've officially decided I wasn't going to continue with it, but it just, a lot of things in my head just feel clearer now. I'm trying to be really, really specific with what I'm doing each day. Well, I actually am being really specific with what I'm doing. When I told Garrett I wanted to step away from Pure Barre and really, all the things I just said, treat it like a business, he was like, okay, then make a business plan. Like, let's do this for real. It was actually so nice. He like literally that night I was at the dinner table. We came into my office, we sat right here, and he like made me my mock schedule and like made me get so serious about it, which I've done before. Like I love a schedule. I'm very type A. And he was like, no, like you have to be type A plus. Like if you have seen any of my videos where I'm like, I'm type A minus, like, no, he's like, you need to be type A plus. Like, he built his business from the ground up. So I totally respect his advice and like was so grateful that he took the time and was like, no, let's like talk about this and like look at everything, because I had done that before where I'm like, oh yeah, I know I do a weekly schedule. I do my schedule the night before and then I just like fall off in like 2 days. And so I don't know if that works for me. And he was pretty much like, tough love, it has to work, because that's how you run a business, is you have a schedule and you have tasks and you have it written out. You have, the written out goals and all of the things, which is actually, I hate to admit it. And I told him this too, like, I hate to admit it, but I've felt so much better having it, which is kind of ironic because when I, in the past, would try to get kind of more specific with my day to day, I would find myself still not being able to close like loops in my head of then I'm thinking about a million things that I hadn't done yet, or I still had to do. And then I would still end up going over the time that I had allotted for that, because I probably also just wasn't being realistic with the amount of time a certain task would take. And doing it just a day at a time, like, yeah, that's helpful because you don't always know your days, but then it's a lot easier to lose track of things or lose sight of a task that needs to get done, and it's not measurable. So we kind of broke it down where it was every single week we have I have a schedule that's like kind of set, but then every Monday morning I go in and I like adjust what I need, right? Like if I have something that is specific to that week, if I have an appointment, I can adjust things and move things. And I've been every day, I take a little screenshot of my anticipated daily schedule and then what I adjust as I go through my day. Like if something took me longer, if I actually did something, I had to move it to a different spot, like I'm adjusting it. And so I can audit at the end of the week and see what I did, what I didn't do. It's funny because if you have a business already, you're probably like, okay, I'm bored. Like I already know all this. But if you don't, or like want to get into it more, I have to do like another episode on it because I think it's so helpful. And I just know that everything has a place and that everything has time to get done. And if it doesn't, or something's not working, then I like look at it at the end of the week and I'm like, okay, that didn't work. Like, what do I need to adjust? Or maybe I haven't been doing it a month yet, but at the end of the month, I can adjust things. But I'm just really excited about that. I used to do it for when I was dancing as well. I would schedule it not at, again, this was a type A minus, not the A plus, but I would do it then as well. And if you don't do that, it's extremely, extremely helpful just to be able to visualize your week, which I don't know about you, but I'm a very visual person. Okay, moving right along. I have posted a lot about this as well. The New Year energy is something that, first of all, I think is so funny because I remember back, maybe this was just a me thing or just like where I grew up type of thing, but it was almost like, oh, New Year, new me. Like people made fun of that. And I would be curious if that was like that for you as well, where like that was like a joke. But I have two kind of thoughts on that. Is like, one, I think maybe it's a high school thing or back in the day thing. It was just like not cool to try. Trying has been looked upon as like, like a try hard. Like that just wasn't a cool thing, which lame. Or that it was just taken too literally. And I think that, again, maybe it was talked about, maybe just not in my world, but manifestation, stepping into like new energy whenever, whether it's on January 1st or at any point, just like leveling up, that whole concept of you can kind of change who you are, maybe not to your core, but you can change things about yourself. Like that was kind of a foreign concept to me, which I have definitely felt a shift in energy when it was end of December getting into beginning of January. There was definitely a shift that I felt, which was so cool because I haven't been able to really hone in and like siphon that energy for the past 3 years, because normally the season would end beginning of January. Then I would have to come back here. And even when I was still in New York, it takes a full week of like a calm down and like get your life together. And then oftentimes I would be traveling home and seeing family and celebrating the holidays late with them and then coming back. And by the time you're kind of back on your feet, getting back into a routine, you're at the end of January. People are already in their New Year winter slump energy. So like you're kind of just like driving along on your own, which is fine and you can do it, but it's been cool to kind of feel that and like see that online of like people really getting into it. But I've also, because I've not been able to like siphon that energy, I have gotten pretty good at the whole reset concept. At any point, whenever I feel like I'm entering a slump or I'm not motivated or I'm falling off or whatever the case is, I am pretty good at getting myself back on. So I wanted to share kind of things that I do if you feel that way. At the time this is out, it's end of January at this point. Maybe you're already feeling like you're in a slump and that you want to kind of get back on the horse and like get that, because at the end of the day, yes, the energy of your surroundings is so important, which you can control your environment. And if you aren't, definitely do that, but you have to kind of find it from within. So I'm going to first make you journal. Sorry. I guess you can do some of these out loud, like as we're talking about them, but like there's so much power in pen to paper that is just so underrated. So we're going to journal. That's what I usually do. I'm like, literally, I'm like, I need to like rehaul my life for a second. Let's like get into it. I usually do like a mini audit, just thinking about your goals and like really digging into think about that for a second of like, why do you want to accomplish the things that you're trying to accomplish? Typically that for me evokes a lot of emotion. So it kind of gets you in that like vulnerable, open state and like that gratitude state, because then you're going to also visualize and feel and think about how it's going to feel when you reach that goal or when that thing happens. Like that feeling and like what is that going to feel like? What is that going to look like? How is that going to affect your life? Who is that going to affect in your life? Obviously, like in a positive way, all of those things, because then it just, I don't know, your whole body just like gets involved in it in this way. And then you can add on to that what beliefs you would have about yourself when you are that version of yourself. Like, what would you believe about yourself? What would be true? So, for example, if you wanted to be a precision dancer or whatever dancer, what do you think that those people, that sounds so funny, those people, what do you think that person who has what you want, what do they exude? How do they feel about themselves? Don't get too into this because you can't be in someone's head, but you know what I mean? Like you're proud of yourself, like you walk around confidently, whatever that is. Then you can start, one, feeling those things. And then two, you can start saying those things to yourself right now. So maybe you can say, I'm disciplined, or I'm capable, or I'm confident, whatever it is. You start saying that now. You say it to yourself. You start to feel that. I have also been into, I'm looking at it right now, my shelf. I have Post-it notes with different like mantras, things. Like literally one is not everyone is my audience. Oh, another one that I have, I can see from right here, is I don't need to be perfect to be influential, because I have been struggling with just like perfectionism and trying to just let go a little bit. So just things like that. I've been trying to put visual reminders in your space. I found has been so helpful. So you're actually taking that in. On top of that, the vision board, Pinterest, playlist thing. And I didn't used to like buy into all that, but let me tell you why I do now. Because I don't know, it used to just feel like it was a waste of time. I'm like, okay, I'm just pinning a picture. Who cares? Like that's literally a waste of my time. But for me, a small goal that I've had is working on my personal style a little bit more. I used to always wear leggings, athleisure. If you're watching this, I am in like a sweat thing, but but I do my hair and makeup, or at least like my makeup or my hair, one or the other. It's like my rule with myself. I used to just wear my old sweats from high school and like a baggy t-shirt, but now it's like, okay, at least it's a set that's put together. I don't need to be uncomfortable necessarily, but if I had to run out and do an errand or something, like I'm put together. I just wanted to be a person that was just more put together, not for a superficial way, but I don't know, your appearance does say a lot about you. I mean, think about in an audition setting, like if you showed up to an audition that was technique based and you were in socks and a baggy t-shirt and, you know, athletic shorts, like yeah, cute people maybe wear those in like a modern class, which is totally fine, but you probably wouldn't wear that to an audition. At that same concept of showing up how we want to be, and people, it makes you emote's probably the wrong word. It makes you give off a certain energy because you carry yourself differently. Like think about how you carry yourself if you're in your baggy t-shirt and your baggy sweats with your hair that's not washed or brushed and you have no makeup on and you're running to the grocery store. You don't want to be seen. You don't want to talk to people. If you run into someone that you know, you're like, oh gosh, please don't look at me. So just all of those things that add up. But tie it back to Pinterest, I would pin things of clothes that I liked or aesthetic that I liked, or one of my other things I want to do is be better at taking cool pictures and capturing cool moments, because I'm trying to be online. So you kind of need to, and I've always wanted to. And for so long I was like, well, that's just like, I'm just not good at that. I'm just not naturally good at that. Where it's like, okay, but I can be. So then I'm on Pinterest and I'm looking at different things. And now I challenge myself when I'm, oh, this is kind of cool. Let me take a good picture. Is it always a good picture? No, most of the time it's still not, but I'm getting in the reps, and it's just like the visual reminder of that. Another good one that's on Pinterest is quotes and things. So very good that I also still pin, but just, I don't know, it gets you in the mood of that. I also usually, for funsies, then I will make a little like Canva vision board from my Pinterest. And when you do this, make sure that you include pictures that are yours as well, because then it also like tricks your brain to not necessarily know the difference between what has happened and what's real versus what your goal is and what you're kind of manifesting. But then I'll like compile it all together, put it as a lock screen. It's cute. It's good reminders. It's there when I open my phone. But I don't know, it's just like a reset, which you can just do this for the new year. But I just do this at any point because you don't have to like start over, right? Every time I do it, it's not like I'm setting new goals. Like typically they're the same goals. It's just reigniting that fire. And hopefully this doesn't take you, hours and days, maybe a few hours. That's like what I like to do when I'm in a rut. And then the playlist is really helpful. I pick empowering songs that make me feel good. I had an audition playlist that I would always listen to. So just like curating things that are going to help you feel like you're ready to take over the world, like you're ready to accomplish whatever you want to accomplish. You don't necessarily have to take over the world, but if you are going to journal, I sometimes will even use ChatGPT. Sorry if you hate AI, but I'll sometimes use ChatGPT for like specific prompts too. Like, hey, I'm journaling to reset. I'm feeling really unmotivated in my fashion part of my life. He, of course, we're best friends. He knows my goals already. So like knowing my goals, like what are some good journal prompts? But you don't have to get that specific with ChatGPT, but you can kind of use it as a guide to have some more journal prompts, or you can DM me and I can give you some good ones that I like to use. But that's like my overview blanket of how I kind of reset, which is kind of a big version, but if you need small ones too, maybe we can do another episode on that, but that's my big one. Then the next thing I really have been thinking about a lot lately is how I approach big goals. Before I started recording this, I was doing a little like midday journal for myself. And I actually journaled on stepping away from Pure Barre, and I compared it to feeling similar to how I felt when I decided to move to New York, and how it was like it's been feeling like I don't want to say weight off of my shoulders, but it's been a big sense of proof that I've given to myself, to the universe, that I'm headed in the direction I'm supposed to be going on. And maybe not in the sense of it's as big of a maybe risk as moving, but it is like a big change for me, at least. It got me thinking about how moving to New York, I'm like downplaying that now. Like I am downplaying that move because now I know that it works out. I knew it was fun. I booked the job I wanted. I met my husband. I'm not homeless. Like everything's fine. And it worked out really great. It put me back in that headspace of when I decided to move. Yes, of course, people were in my circle, were very supportive, but it was like a huge leap in the sense of I was living at home, super comfy, cozy, had a stable job. I had a great group of friends. I'm really close with my family, so I was seeing them all the time. Like no one in my family. That was a crazy risk that I was just like, yeah, but I just need to do it. Like I just like so fully trusted. So it's so interesting to see how now I downplay it. If you're listening to this and you have something that's similar that popped up in your head, stop downplaying it and like take a moment to reflect and be proud of yourself. But then it also got me thinking even more about how I had to approach that goal and how I approach other goals now, where I don't know if I necessarily broke it down as directly as I do now, my goals. It was definitely there indirectly. And I think if I had been this specific about it and was this intentional about it, I think it would have even accelerated things. Not that I would have changed anything. So I wanted to share it with you guys on just breaking down big goals, because becoming a rocket or moving to a new city or starting a completely new career path, like those are big things and they feel overwhelming at times. And I'm such a big believer in breaking things down and taking those steps, actually starting and actually taking the steps to do that. Let's get into it. Maybe you already did the little journal thing or are going to do the journal thing, and that kind of gets you re-sparked, like a nice little kickstart in this. I wanted to just break down my system of one of the goals I have. I'll share it with you in a second. And then maybe a dance hypothetical goal. So it's to like have both versions of it. One big goal that I have is having 100,000 followers across my platforms by the end. This is like a year goal, end of the year, which to me is like extremely lofty. I have less than 10,000 right now combined. However, I've seen it done. I know it can be done. It's not completely out of realm. I've seen people go from 0 to over 100,000 in a year. So that's my advice. Number one is picking like a big lofty goal that isn't completely out of reach. Maybe it's becoming a rocket or any of the other things we already talked about. In this state, we're going to talk about a dance goal. So then after that, you have your big goal. You're going to break it down into a smaller goal. Either do like a monthly, depending on the goal. I do like a monthly, a quarterly, if you really want to do like a weekly, but I would probably stick to like a monthly or quarterly smaller goal. So for example, I'm going to say 10,000 followers is going to be my first step goal. Maybe the dance one we're going to say is to book one gig. That's not the main gig you want to book, but it's you want to book one gig. Then we're going to get into the how, have it, and honest. So the 3 H's. So the how is what it sounds like. It's going to be how. So for me, for my social media goal, I need to post more videos that I'm talking is my theory. That's what I've been seeing that people are suggesting, and that's how you grow. That's how I know I connect with people. Like I see other creators when they sit and yap and talk to me about something that I care about and they're good at talking about. I've seen people grow successfully, and I've been posting super consistently for over a year now, but let's just call it a year just for argument's sake. I've been posting consistently. I enjoy speaking. I have so much, clearly I started a podcast. I have so much to say. For me, that's what I want to be better at. But those are also the ones that I get in my head with more because I don't have training in other than like media training, but like I don't have speech training. I don't have vocal real training. I did take a couple voice lessons, but you know what I mean? I don't have any vocal training. That form of content to me does feel the most vulnerable, therefore criticize it the most. So for me, again, this is my true honest goals that you get to hear about is just posting more talking videos because I think that's what's going to push the needle to my bigger goal and smaller goal. But maybe yours, if you want to book your gig, maybe that means you are researching auditions and picking a certain one that you think is going to be fit. And that means you're taking dance classes that are going to support that goal in the sense of maybe it's a teacher that is hiring for that gig or is connected in some way to that gig, or it's a style of dance that you think is going to get you closer to that gig, whatever it is. You are going to take dance classes that are going to help and you're going to research and you're going to find your audition. I'm assuming, let's assume for argument's sake, you already know what gig you want to book. That's your how. Very big circled, but we got back. That's the how. Your habit is next. Thinking about what kinds of habits that you would need to get to that or to be that person. So this one can kind of go back to the like journal, like if you needed to set another thing I like to journal on, I forgot to say it, habits that you would need to support you in getting there. For me, it's when I have an idea, instead of, sometimes you have to just write it down. For the most part, at least in the same hour, if possible, like just recording it. Maybe it never gets posted. Maybe I post it and it flops, probably on TikTok. That's where I post all of my talking videos without caring, but maybe it flops. But like for me, that's a habit. Just record. Don't overthink it. Just do it. Just talk. Don't overscript it. Just get your message out. So that is a habit that I am working on developing. And on top of that is I have like a notes app, like it's literally on my home screen where it's like ideas. Again, I am somewhere, I'm out somewhere, I'm talking to someone and I can't just stop what I'm doing and film. I at least can jot it down so I have the idea that I can circle back to. If maybe we're going to your dance one now, maybe your habit is that you have to dedicate time every Sunday to research auditions and gigs. You need to schedule out your dance classes for the week. Take some time so you have a plan, so you're not guessing with it, so you know what's going on and you can move things accordingly. That's your habit that you have to pick up. And then you're honest. I didn't really have a better word for it, but I liked the idea of 3 H's. But it's basically just how you're tracking your progress. Like you have to like actually look at your progress. I think what's the quote? It's like if you have a goal without progress or without a deadline, it's delusion, or a goal without, I don't know, something like that. But you need to be able to like see what you're doing because you can say what you need to do and the habit you need to help you get there, but how are you holding yourself accountable in that sense? For me, it's going to be checking my weekly analytics, like looking every week and seeing what actually performed well, what didn't, and like thinking about why that didn't land with people, because my goal is to be able to reach more people, to inspire more people, to get people on board and like help people live their best lives, and both dancers and non-dancers. So checking that and really being diligent. Like I made a whole little tracker thing to like really look at it and be super specific. So if you were going to your dance goal, you could maybe make a separate calendar to track which classes you went to. So you have your calendar that you already did on Sunday because you have that habit, but maybe you have a sheet that you actually write down what you did, whether it's a calendar or not. Maybe you just adjust to what you did. I don't know. You find a system, but you're like looking, you're seeing if you took those dance classes. You could even take it a step further if you're auditioning, multiple auditions, like tracking which auditions you went to, what your feedback was when you got cut, and don't overanalyze this to the point because you're never going to know for real. But usually if you have an idea, actually, I take it back. If you have an idea of maybe you got so in your head and then you blinked and you stopped, and like that's a pretty obvious one, like maybe that's why you got cut. You can think about why maybe you lost your mind. Was it because you just weren't at the level that you needed to be? Have you not taken that style enough? Did you let someone else get in your head and you got distracted? Like what was it that caused you to do that? Just being critical but not mean, using that as data so you can know yourself and know what happened so that you can maybe then think about what would help you the next time. So that was a full circle again. But those are the three. So you're going to think about how you're going to get to your small goal, habit or habits that are going to help support that. And then honest of just like checking in and how are you going to track your progress towards that, which wraps it up to my favorite part of this, which is you're going to have all of this and then you're going to come up with a controllable goal. When I was getting into like all this big goal setting, and again, I wish I was a little more clear when I was working towards the dance thing, is that a lot of our goals that we have are not in our control. I don't really have in my control if I can have 100,000 followers by the end of the year. You can't control if you book a gig or your dream job, whatever. You can't control that. You can do your best to show up the best and prepare for it, but you can't control that. And that can become so discouraging, right? When you don't reach a goal, but it's not always in your hands. So I love to like tie a little bow on it and make a controllable goal so that I can still be proud of myself and that I can actually form habits, right, that are going to help me get to the goal eventually. Maybe it's just not in the timeline that you set it for, because maybe I won't get my 10,000 followers or my 100,000 followers. But if I'm doing these other things, I'm going to create habits and learn things and know how I can get there. So examples of controllable goals, like for me, my controllable goal for this big goal, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to never say this word again after this, like, goal, you know what? It doesn't sound like a real word anymore. I'm posting 3 talking videos a week. So that is my goal. It's very easy to track that because you can just scroll my Instagram. But on top of that, to help support that is taking time with my schedule, my business plan. I had to write a weekly schedule that stays the same. And I have created a system that is going to ensure that I can get a minimum of 3 done a week, 3 that I'm proud of, 3 that go out there no matter what the outcome is. And maybe they flop, maybe they don't. 3 a week is my sweet spot right now. And that is something I can control. Like I can control to a degree, obviously, because my goal example for the dance one is maybe you say you want to take 15 dance classes a month or whatever that number is for you, or I want to attend 4 auditions this month. Like within reason, you can control that. Obviously, life happens, like you get sick, you get injured, whatever, something happens, you can't do it. But within reason, compared to booking something or getting a certain amount of followers, you can control that, right? Like you can control if you were able to schedule the time out to take the classes, if you actually researched and you actually did what you needed to do to get there. And then maybe you don't book a gig this month. Maybe I don't reach my 10,000 followers this quarter. You're growing, you're learning, and you actually now can like be proud of yourself because odds are you reached your controllable goal. But you learned something about yourself. You grew. You're getting closer, whether it's like the timeline you think it needed to be done in or not. You did it. You did it. I like see, like I'm like, you did it. I already know that if you're listening to this and you're doing it, like you're gonna do it. I don't know. I just feel I keep saying this online and in real life, and I don't know where it came from, but I'm like 2026 is gonna be that girl. I just feel it for myself. I feel it for all of us because there's no reason for everyone to not succeed and reach their goals and do all the things they want to do this year. So it's real. It's gonna be that year. I know it. I hope you know it. I hope you got some tools from this that you can use. I hope that this is the year that you bet on yourself and you just like do it. You do the thing. You know what you need to get done. You know what you need to do and just do it. trust yourself. Because at the end of the day, if it's on your heart, if you thought about something, if you want something, you've envisioned something for yourself, it is for a reason. It's meant to happen in one way or the other. You're meant to work towards it. Maybe if you don't get it, but you're meant to like start working towards that for a reason. So just trust that. If you made it this far, thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Follow, like, subscribe. Please comment if you have anything to say, if you have a goal you're working towards. Like, I genuinely would love to hear it. I don't think that you understand how much it means to me when I get a comment or a DM about whether it's the podcast or anything, something that sits well with someone. It means so much because I love people and I love connecting with people. I have a story that I need to save for another time. Thanks for kicking it real with me. I will see you guys next time. Thanks for being here.